All right, it's time to find out what's going on with this grain market. We started the day out a little bit higher for the row crops, but that has changed here over about the last 2 hours or so. We're starting to drift lower, and we're going to get analysis from Jim McCormick with Allendale Incorporated here in just a moment. Now let's take a look at those numbers here. And at the corn market right now for this big board number, well, we're seeing where corn is just kind of now spinning around here and now going back higher. December corn up a quarter, 349, now unchanged at 348 3/4. It just changed here on our live and instant quotes. July corn up a quarter at 379. On over to the soybean market, and it's November down 2.5 at 972 3/4. January beans down 1.5. 985. And for the wheat market today, the Chicago wheat for December is down 3 at 424 1/4. July wheat down 3 1/4, 370 3/4. July Kansas City wheat down 2 3/4 at 472. July Minneapolis wheat right now is up 2 1/4 at 641 1/2. And December cotton here on this Monday, up 97 points at 69.17. And to join us now for analysis of today's markets, Jim McCormick with Allendale Incorporated. First of all, Jim, we're on both sides of unchanged today for this corn market. Is the trade really going to watch closely this afternoon some of that harvest progress in the crop report?
You know, I think they're going to keep an eye on it right now. We're hearing we're expecting about 52% of the corn crop to be in and about a little over 80% of the bean numbers to be in. We're pretty much caught up on the beans, still behind pace on the corn, but it looks like a relatively open week this week. So I think the trade's going to take it in stride. The fact of the matter is we had a plentiful carry-in. We've had plenty of early crops harvested. So it really is, I think it's just a number we're going to talk about. And then, as soon as the market opens at 7 o'clock tonight, we'll forget about it.
Is there anything out there in your headlights that could cause this market to break out of this range that it's trading in?
I really think, John, the next big thing, unfortunately, is probably about 2 weeks away from us. And when we get this November WASDE report, that's when the government will kind of dig in a little bit and make some yield adjustments. Right now, I think the trade is looking for maybe the corn yield to be a little bit upticked as the early estimates, but the bean yields, they are anticipating them to drop back a little bit. The later beans have kind of been a little bit disappointing compared to the early bean harvest. So that may be the thing that really gets the market excited. Unfortunately, though, we're a good 10 days away from it.
But the wheat market still remains a follower at that point, correct?
Wheat is still a follower. Right now, I think, the wheat's best hope, I think a lot of it all hinges on the beans. The beans are down here some technical support. They've been trending higher the last couple months despite the crop getting bigger. If the beans can break out on this technical front and get the funds to continue to add to it, that may be enough to chase the funds out of both the corn and the wheat market, which they're still carrying some pretty hefty shorts, actually.
Jim, last week we didn't see much for export sales. It was pretty quiet, and then we had the export inspections this morning. There's still doesn't seem to be any really robust headlines in that export market at this point.
Well, exactly, John. I mean, the numbers today, they came in seasonally adjusted right around 92 million bushels shipped out, roughly equal to about where we were last year at this time. But we're behind, and we need to get some sales, and the market's just not seeing it. The dollar's been rallying lately on the proposed tax cuts. I think the market's excited about the Republicans getting this tax cut through that's got the dollar rallying, and that's definitely limiting our sales, I believe.
Well, that dollar up there around that 94 mark, and that seems to be key. Do you think that if it goes much higher, or how much higher do you think until it really puts the more pressure on this commodity trade then?
Well, right now, I think the dollar technically broke out last week and put in like a head and shoulder bottom on the chart, which I believe projects us back up closer to the 200-day moving average, right around the 96.87 level. So I think that'll continue to limit the export potential. So it wouldn't surprise me if the exports back off the next couple of weeks if that dollar does continue to go higher, unfortunately.
All right, Jim, hang here with us for just a moment. We want to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the livestock trade. Straight ahead here on the Market Day Report. Let's visit with Jim McCormick now with Allendale Incorporated. Jim, this live cattle market, pretty interesting today. December live cattle, it's got that high in there. It looks like resistance about 122.85. If you go to the opposite end of the spectrum where support is, it looks to be just under 119. So now where does this market go? Because that cash cattle trade really sent a message.
Well, exactly. I mean, right now, I got to tell you, technically, it's hard to come up with a technical point. You're looking at extensions. A lot of people I've heard talking these cattle up toward 125. I mean, the plain and simple, I don't think anybody was expecting them to trade cattle, $7, $8 higher week to week, and it's caught the bears, a little bit flat-footed, and that's chasing them. We were limit up most of the morning. We have come off limit, and now the million-dollar question, I believe, is where do the funds want to take us? The funds are long cattle. They've been plowing into it on the demand aspect of it. They've been plowing into it, I believe, on kind of the inflationary aspect of it. A lot of money's coming in on the inflationary play, and the question is how far do they want to push it?
Right now, December live cattle up 286, 123.75. February live cattle up 215, 127.90. Let's look at the feeder cattle market, and it's the nearby November up 260 at 159.08. January feeders up 250 at 158.45. Jim, you mentioned the product market, and let's talk about that cutouts. The cutout information was out just a little bit ago, and we've got the choice up 14 cents today at 203.44. The selects up $1.91 at 194.39. So if you go back to the argument that the funds and the bulls in this market are talking about when they point to the demand and the cutout, you can't argue with this.
No, you can't. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're selling it, they're pushing it. The weights are down a little bit, so the supply that we thought may be coming at us, it's not there, plain and simple. So we got a little bit tighter supply, and the fact of the matter is the consumer's pushing it. They're able to sell the product, they're moving at a higher price, and that'll, you get this cut out to keep pushing higher. Let's say it pushes up toward 210 on the choice. That just reinforces the feedlot to say, hey, I want more of that. I want some of that higher price as you're getting, plain and simple.
Well, what argument then do the bears have?
Well, what the bears are going to have is essentially you're going to run it up to the point where the consumer says, well, do I want to buy beef? Do I want to buy chicken? Do I want to buy pork? Do I want to buy, do I want to buy maybe an expensive cut of beef, or do I want to save some of that money maybe, save for Christmas, which is going to come upon us really quick. So it's a question where, where do those dollars go? You have a limited amount of dollars. Are you going to pay for the higher beef or the pork? Right now, they're paying up for the beef. The question is, you get to the limit where the consumer says enough's enough. I can get turkey dirt cheap, let's say, in a couple weeks.
Okay, good point here. Jim McCormick here with us. Real quickly before we take off, let's bring you up to date on the cutouts for the pork. Since we mentioned the beef, the pork cutouts here at first, and while we've got the board up here, December lean hogs up 53, $65. February up 60 at 70.85. Now on to the cutouts we go. Thank you very much. The carcasses are up $1.32. Loins are down $1.50. Hams up $1.29, and the belly market is up $2.10 today. So that's kind of where things stand. And good job with our graphics people there staying on top of all that.
Yeah, they've got the best upstairs.
Yes,
there.
we do.
And thanks to Jim McCormick here as well, John.